The In It Together with Lynn Greene talk show is a positive way to start your day. Ready for some encouragement?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm pumped. Let's let the healing begin.
Come be inspired, hear moving stories, even laugh out loud.
Can't make heads or tail of what I'm saying.
It's just incomprehensible.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
You'll hear real people doing real things to make a real impact.
You are heroes every day.
Hear honest, compassionate, engaging issues you care about.
You see people come together to do good in our community, and the more we come together, the more good we can do.
Listen in and get started on redesigning your life and hear what's positive in Greater Manchester. Here's your happy host, Lynn Greene.
Good morning, friends in Greater Manchester. Welcome to In It Together. I am so glad that you've tuned in. If you'd like to find me on the web, you can go to inittogether.net, listen live or to previous shows, even link to our Facebook and Twitter. And if you like and follow us, you'll see we're bringing out the best in people to influence positive change in this community and beyond. We are also on YouTube and LinkedIn and Instagram as well. So today on The Good Life, obviously it's with yours truly here. In this segment, I'll be talking about how to stand up for what is right in a world that's so volatile right now. How do we stand up for what's right? There's a right way to do it. There's a wrong way to do it. There's a right place to do it from and a wrong place to do it from. So we're going to talk about that this morning. We want to welcome everybody from our internet live radio. Also want to welcome those who are on the live stream this morning. We're going to take a break here in a second. But first I want to say that, people struggle with standing up for what's right. There's a lot of backlash in different arenas. We've seen a lot of this in the media. But today, as an advancement strategist and a coach trainer of Alpha Advancement Strategies, a lot of what I do is not about you making a living, but it's also making a life that you want. Okay, so this segment aims to help you identify and eliminate the challenges that hinder your success in a variety of areas. Today, specifically, how to address those things that are right, that maybe happen to you or around you that you know is affecting your progress and that of others around you. So I usually choose the topics based on not only what I've experienced, but what I've helped people successfully work through. And these are common things that clients of mine would normally deal with in their work, in their home life, in the community, as volunteers, wherever. So I'm kind of excited about this topic. When I started, people used to tell me that there's no really good radio show unless there's a little bit of conflict. I disagreed for the most part because I think that most people really do want to hear what's right and what's good. But on the other hand, there's so much stuff going on. It's like, how can you ignore it? All right, so we'll be back right after this. You want to stay tuned, and we'll get started.
Little Leapers and Knowledge Keepers Childcare and Preschool offers learning experiences that give kids a healthy sense of self and meaningful connections to the world around them. We teach children from a positive perspective so they learn healthy conflict resolution and develop character. Owner Jennifer Lever has over 28 years experience in child development. She's helped children learn to read as young as 18 months. Join our happy place where we make happy happen. Located in Pinardville, bordering Bedford and Manchester. Call today at 603-491-1780.
Hi, this is Lynn Greene, Advancement Strategist and Coach Trainer at alphaadvancementstrategies.com. Join me Mondays at 9 a.m. where I'll talk about ways to help keep you moving forward in life. Only on In It Together with Lynn Greene.
Hi, I'm Jen Lever, anchor of the Recovery Now segments. Join me Tuesdays at 9 a.m. where I offer support to families struggling with addiction. Hear personal stories, learn the signs of addiction, and get help for your loved ones. Only on In It Together with Lynn Greene.
Welcome back to In It Together, kicking off the good life this morning. It's hard to have a good life sometimes when there's a lot of opposition coming against us. And so I wanted to be able to touch on this today, where we see a lot of people struggling with being able to, I guess you say, deal with those who are in the way or things that get in the way in a way that's healthy. And if you are someone who's a believer, that makes it a little bit more difficult because of not only judgments from the other side, but sometimes from our own side. We got a lot of friendly fire going on here, and I just was hoping to bring some balance to that today. It's really all about that balance. It seems like you can have a good thing going on, and a good thing gone too far is no longer good. So today we're talking about how to stand up for what's right. Now, as I said before, people struggle with this. They struggle for standing up more today than they have in my lifetime. Obviously, because of they question, should I say something? There's a fear of backlash all the time. And I've had to reflect on that myself and admit myself. There have been times, I'll tell you, that I have bit my tongue, and there have been times that I've unconsciously done this. And I've been paying more attention to it, and I've been thinking about, rather than ignoring the things that we need to address because they're right and stand up for them, we want to stand up for them. So we can't remain passive. Looks like I might be getting a call, so I'm gonna answer that, and I'm not sure. Hopefully, it's somebody for the show, but we'll see. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning. Is this Lynn Greene?
It is. You are live on air. Is this something that you wanted to discuss with our topic this morning? Or is this?
I just got on the air, so I haven't heard what you're saying recently.
Okay. Well, we're live on air, and our topic this morning is how to stand up for what is right. And we've been talking, just getting started, really talking about how people struggle with this for fear of backlash. Is that a conversation you want to join, or do you want to talk another time?
Absolutely. I would love to talk about that.
Okay, great. And what's your name?
My name is Lisa Edwards.
Nice to meet you, Lisa.
Nice to meet you, too.
Okay, so let me pose the question to you that I'm posing to those that are listening right now via internet radio and on live stream. The question this morning is, is it okay to be silent? And I guess one of the questions I'm posing is how do you stand up for what's right? When have you stood up for what's right? And how'd you do it? Why did you do it, and are you glad you did? What did it affect change? Because I think the outcome of why we would stand up for anything is to affect change for what's right. Would you agree to that, Lisa?
Yes. I definitely resonate with that. I believe in that, and that is why I started Lifestyle to Independence, helping women go from poverty to prosperity in 2016.
Now, Lisa, are you the friends with our anchor Mark Major?
We are JMT DNA brothers and sisters, I believe.
Oh, okay. Well, I just honestly, I'm going to let you. I think it'd probably be best if you call when he's on Wednesday. And the reason is because I really feel like I need to go in a direction today, and I'm nothing personal, but I have a really a soft spot when someone comes on and begins to immediately promote what their company is. I really look forward to having you come on at some point, to talk about that.
Sure.
But for today's comment, I do want to hear your comment based on that one thing there, though, is, what have you done that you've stood up for what's right, and how did you do it? Do you have an example of that?
Yes. Being a domestic violence survivor, I started to be a voice in 2008 when no one was standing up and speaking out.
Okay. And I appreciate that tremendously. We even have a segment here for people who have to defend themselves, personal safety. We do every week. So it sounds like you might be able to fit in some of those areas. And so maybe after today, some point, we can have a conversation and find out, all about that and be able to connect you with the right topics. So you're a survivor. What did you do, Lisa, to do that?
What I did is after I got out of an unfinished basement, unfinished attic, in order to get through away from abusive relationships and to end the cycle, I went to a Toastmasters, and I'm not promoting other things, but you asked me, so I have to tell you my journey. So I went to a Toastmasters club, and I enjoyed it, and I went for 2 meetings, and because I wanted a voice, that was an avenue to do it. And I had to wait for 3 months so that I could save up $30.75 to become a member.
Okay. And so how did that help you with surviving domestic violence? I mean, what did you do to stand up for what was right?
Well, to be a voice, you had to share your story. You had to let people be aware that.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah, that's huge, sharing your story, because it's easy to be silenced, isn't it?
Yes, and in 2008, you didn't hear anyone standing up and speaking out publicly that much.
Yeah, right. All right. All right, Lisa. Well, I really appreciate you calling in today, and actually do look forward to reconnecting with you another time to find out where we can really fit your story as a whole, because I really do want to hear it, and I really do believe it has value. So thank you so much for calling this morning. I appreciate it, and hopefully we'll connect soon.
Yes, and you said Mark Major is on Wednesday. Is it the same time?
He's on Wednesday. Yeah, the best thing you could do is watch on our show, our In It Together Media show on Facebook, and watch. We post the topics the day before so that you can see what we're talking about, and we can work it in there. Okay.
Sounds good, Lori. Thank you so much.
All right, Lisa. You have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, that was it was good to hear like how Lisa stood up for, obviously the number one thing. And I think the thing that I grabbed from this is we're being silenced. I don't want to say we're being silenced. We feel we need to be silenced. And I think that's a really important key aspect here to standing up for what's right is finding your voice. I did a show about that a while back called Finding Your Voice. And, it's really important that we have to share our story and our experiences. Today, as we move forward, I pose the same question to those that are watching and listening. How do you stand up for what's right? What have you done? Has it worked? Let me give you maybe move a little bit more into the topic, and it'll probably be a little bit more helpful. Taking off these bulky headphones here, though. I don't know about you, but sometimes people can feel like they're walking on eggshells. If you've ever felt like you're walking on eggshells, or you have to be careful what you say, it's a possibility you're around somebody who you might need to stand up to. And I don't mean we want to look for trouble, okay? But this is what happens when we start to lose our voices, when we're around someone who's intimidating or begins to get volatile, and you begin to kind of either shrink back or you fight back. And I think there's a medium that we can find. We can find. I'm learning where that is as well. So the one thing I want us to understand is we don't want to be second guessing ourselves so much that it paralyzes our ability to have a civil conversation, even if it's a difficult one to have. And I think this is what we're seeing a lot of these days. There's conversations. People have become less and less civil. I remember, I'll give you an example. There was this one gentleman who was struggling. He was pro-life, and he's a Christian, and he was like, what's wrong with letting a woman choose? And he was sincere. And I took the time, and I opened up the scripture, and I kind of was showing him why and how important, I'm not going to get into what I told him, but the bottom line was I took the time. We had the relationship. I cared about him, and he actually thanked me. He said, "You know what? Thank you. Every time I've asked anybody else, church leaders, different people about this, they'd say the same thing everybody else was saying. Well, that's just stupid, and that's no way to. You don't argue by saying that's just stupid. You argue with the truth and the facts that are indisputable, and I think that's the way we do it. So there's a lot of ignorance out there. Obviously, not all of us knows it all, but those who stand for righteousness can get wisdom from God, and we don't want to stick our noses into everybody's business. We're not looking for trouble, but when trouble finds us, it's important to stand up for what's right. I was a part of a big community board at one point a few years ago, and there was a leader in that, and I'm not going to name names or anything, and we have since had discussions where it was civil, and I was able to stand up for what was right. But at the time, a board, if you've ever been on a board, it works in a way where each person, we bring up the topic, each person gives their input, we all make a decision to what we're going to do about that, and then we come back and discuss, the things that we have that add to that discussion. Well, this one person was going around and had their agenda of what they wanted to do. So they would go around, instead of talking with the whole group about something, would go to each person individually to try to convince them of their point, so that when we came back together for a meeting, that everybody would be, I guess you could say, manipulated to what their point of view was. Well, I recognized this, and I saw it over and over, and actually during the meeting, and I didn't do this in secret with him because he was doing it. I just basically came right out and said something to him right in front of the group. Why are you talking to everybody individually when you should be talking to us as a group? If we are a board and we have a voice and we're supposed to be doing something together, then these side conversations are nothing more than manipulating to what you want to happen. And I spoke up about it. See, that's a healthy thing. It's like, that's not right. That's wrong, because then the other people on the board, not only do they not become part of the conversation, they don't have a voice in which direction it's going in. Okay, so that's one example that I've had. Those of you joining on the live stream, we thank you for being here. Today we're talking about how to stand up for what's right. And this could be in your business life. This can be in the community. It can be in your house. It can be in other relationships too. I've helped a lot of people in ministry relationships who deal with these same things, with leaders that are overreaching their authority. We see this even in our country, overreaching of authority, of misuse of powers. We're seeing this all over the place. And what I've been seeing a lot of is people justifying their anger, being critical and judging others when they have problems in their own life, and they begin to fight this evil with even more evil. And I don't think that's the way to do it. We don't want to be like that. We want to do it with the facts, with the truth, because when you bring that out, you can't dispute it with feelings, which is what we're seeing a lot of now. If we're reducing ourselves to evil fighting evil, which doesn't work, we need to understand that we need to fight evil with good. Okay, so everyone wants to fix someone else, but they don't want to be told anything. It's kind of ironic. But here's something. First off, be the kind of person that can be corrected. And when I think about correction, as a believer, I think about God's correction. It's always done in love, and it's always for our good. So when I talk about fighting evil with good, this is what I'm talking about. So we have to be the kind of person that can be corrected as well before we get into a discussion where we want to correct somebody else. Because if we go in and we have to be right, that doesn't always equate to being righteous or being, you know what I mean? We need to listen, find out what their facts are, what their argument is, what they think the outcome should be. And as a believer, my bottom line is based on what the truth says, based on not just God's word, but knowing his nature and knowing him in a relationship personally. All right, so we're going to come back after this short message. I want you to stay tuned and start to think about what are times where you've stood up for what's right, and I want you to tell me areas that you've had success in. We all know about the areas we haven't had success in. We can just put on the news and see that. I want to see areas you had success in because I want to help people to have success in that. Areas that you've had success in speaking up and standing up for what's right, and it produced change that was positive. Okay, so we'll be back right after this. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Lynn Greene, advancement strategist and owner of alphaadvancementstrategies.com. I've been very successful at helping people overcome stressful situations to get immediate results in their personal and professional lives. At Alpha Advancement Strategies, we provide a non-judgmental and supportive environment, empowering clients to focus more on reaching their goals. You can find us on the web at alphaadvancementstrategies.com or call us at 603-860-9260. Alpha Advancement Strategies is where you invest in yourself.
Morgan Self-Storage has been serving Manchester and Salem, New Hampshire for over 15 years. Facilities are heated with security and video surveillance in well-lit hallways, easy access loading, and high-capacity elevators. With many-sized units, portable trailers, and boxes for moving, we can meet your residential or business storage needs. 400 Bedford Street in Manchester or 8 Willow Street in Salem. Visit morganstorage.com or call us at 603-623-2000. Morgan Self-Storage, making self-storage secure, safe, and easy.
Hi, I'm Bob Bola, Chief Instructor of Defensive Strategies and anchor of the Personal Safety segment, where we talk about personal protection, situational awareness, and home defense. Tune in every Thursday at 9 a.m. and refuse to be a victim. Only on In It Together with Lynn Greene.
Hi, I'm Mark Major, certified coach and speaker. Join me Wednesdays at 9 a.m. for It's a Wonderful Life, all about leadership development and living a positive lifestyle. Only on In It Together with Lynn Greene.
Welcome back to In It Together in the midst of the good life this morning, talking about how to stand up for what is right. And my question to those who are listening or who are watching via live stream is, when have you stood up for what's right, and how did you do it? Why did you do it? And are you glad you did? And did it affect positive change? And this is what I want. I want to find out people who've stood up for what's right, where it worked, where it has affected change. Let me just give you an example of somebody recently. I'm not going to mention their name, but there's somebody that I know who owns a. I want to get the name of this. Excuse me. They own a big restaurant and farm, and they do reenactments of the Civil War and things, and they're out in the West Coast. And the past few months, he's been attacked. The owner has been attacked personally by people who don't agree with his political stances on his personal page. And so what they did was the people that didn't like him were people who were part of maybe the school boards and things like that are out there. And what they did was they started to convince or pass rules that kids could no longer take field trips to this place, which was probably, if you know your community, schools typically go to the same field trip places on a regular basis. It helps stimulate the economy, and this place was no different. It's a historical place where you want to visit, like the museum or something like that. It's definitely worth going to. It's real history. It's based on truth. It's not based on his political views necessarily. It's just, So they were attacking him personally on his business. So we're seeing more and more of this. People coming against businesses. We saw that with the baking the cake thing. It's like people are losing or having to fight fight for their lives, basically, because of people who don't like them, who attack them. I feel like it's a bully tactic. But anyways, this guy that has the farm and the restaurant recently decided he was going to have to lose millions of dollars if these schools pulled out of his place. But there were still a lot of families who didn't have a say in this. It was just the board that had a say in this. And so we found out that there were families that were fine with them going there for the history and things like that. And so he decided to fight against this. He was defending himself, I guess you could say. And he ended up going to court with them. I don't think it's done yet, but he is suing them for targeting him, targeting him because of his personal page. They were targeting a person's business, and we see this a lot. And now it's one thing if the community does it. We saw this with what's that big supermarket, Market Basket, a few years ago, when all the employees decided when they changed hands that they didn't want that to happen because all the rules would change and whatever. But the employees stood up for that. The community stood up for that, and that's different. But when it's people from higher ups, those who are supposed to represent the people who go beyond their authority, that's different. Now we need to stand up for what's right. And so this guy is actually doing that. That's one example. Another example is we saw recently the UCLA students. Trying to remember his name. Anyway, no, it wasn't UCLA. Where is it? Anyways, you all know the students that were wearing the MAGA hat, and then they had this supposedly Indian guy come up, and they were targeting him, and then they took videos, and they were creating a narrative that wasn't true. See, this is stuff, these are all things that we need to stand up for what's right, okay? It could be there, but even in a workplace or the example I gave you with being on the board, okay? So if we see something wrong, it's within our power to change it or to stand up to do something about it. I believe that we should stand up and try to do something about it. Now, let me tell you what I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about sitting on social media all day posting things. People really feel, I'm not saying that that's all bad, but I feel like there's a lot of that going on, but not a lot of people actually getting involved in doing things. If I see a cause or something that I want to stand up for, I may donate to it. I may get involved, if there's legislation or things that go on. And I'm not a highly political person. But these days you almost can't not be in defending the values that we hold dear and that this nation was founded on. So how do we do this? Ephesians 4:15 tells us that we are to speak the truth in love. Now, a lot of times, let's just take it from this perspective, the scriptures are talking to believers, not to the world. Okay, so we need to get this straight. This is where a lot of confusion comes in. I've made this mistake in the past of saying, you love your enemies, all that stuff. And to a certain extent, that is true. But there's also a place where you have to stand up for what's right. I had a young man come to me a couple years ago. He was in the teenager, and he was in school having a discussion with some people, and it was many of them against him in this argument. And he had told me, he goes, well, they were talking about when is the death penalty okay? When is it okay? And it was just a healthy conversation. Nobody got volatile. And basically, his question was, if I'm outside in my front yard with my child, who's 3, and somebody's coming over to hurt my child, is it okay to kill the person that is coming to hurt my child? Do I protect him? Well, the answer is when we talk about in Ephesians 4:15 again, speaking the truth in love, again, anything that we can speak is something that we can take action on. I believe that we can act on that. So yes, absolutely, you have, and I'm not going to use the right. We're not going to use the word. We have the right. So many people throw that around as we have rights. We have truth. We have justice, and we have what we're going to do about that. Okay, rights we have inalienable rights from God, and then we have legal rights. And to me, the ones that God gives us surpass the ones that we have. Although, anyways, I'm not going to get into all that. So, based on the story that this young man was talking about, do I have a right to protect someone, especially someone that I love? And it's like, absolutely, yes, you do. So when is it wrong to kill someone? And it's kind of like, well, what would love do? In other words, what would God do in that position? What would, and I just feel like, well, obviously, love always, the number one thing love does is it values life. It just values life. It's all about life. So yeah, absolutely. That question was there. So that was one thing he stood up for. Even though they argued with him, he said, no, I would protect him. I would protect him, and so would you. And it wouldn't even be something you would think about. It would be something that you would respond to, because that is what righteousness does. It does the right thing because it's the right thing. All right, so if you're listening, okay, yeah, somebody just posted that school is the Covington Catholic School that we were talking about. It was a guy who was wearing a MAGA hat recently, and he's standing up for what's right. He didn't have to yell at them. He didn't have to say a word. Now he's standing up for what's right so that it does not continue. Just like this guy who has the farm. They're going to have their day in court. And those that did the wrong thing are going to end up with the consequences of that. It's going to cost them dearly. And I believe that's the way that we have to fight. Not just posting things on Facebook, not just getting angry, not just, like I was saying before, judging the other people. First off, pray for those who persecute you. That's another scripture. What does that mean? That doesn't mean that you're making friends with them. Praying for those you persecute is a good place to be to hear from God on what you need to do next. That's for your heart, not for theirs. It's not because you're trying to, you approve them or whatever. No, you want to change. The only one that can change a heart is God. So that's where we focus on that. All right. So these days, disagreement is assumed to be opposition right away. That is a stigma that's been created. So people are discouraged from standing up for what's right because somebody might get upset, and we don't want to do that, okay? There are people all the time that are spewing evil carelessly, having no knowledge of the truth. Some are hateful, and this is when we have to stand up for what's right. We also have this other story recently where this semi-famous fellow who lied about being beaten up, even staging it, and having, of course, the news, the fake news, come out and talk about it. Let me just find out what the name of that one was. Okay, his name was Jussie Smollett. He was from Atlanta. He fabricated a story, and I just saw a post, I don't know if this is true or not, that he was offered a job at CNN. That kind of makes you laugh. Hey, it's a great fit. Anyway, so he was he concocted up this whole idea. He paid someone. He was obviously found to be wrong. He's arrested. This is how we stand up for what's right. These people need to be prosecuted. We're having people with false accusations come out, and we need to prosecute people who are breaking the law. Where we need to prosecute people who are doing the wrong thing. Why? Because what we allow will continue. Okay? The media in this story hurled huge accusations at people who they thought were responsible. Okay? They gloated, they acted vindicated, as if finally people could see what they've been saying is real. Okay? And when they found out that it was a lie, they continued to justify their position, ignoring that they didn't have all the facts. No apology to those they smeared. No, I was wrong, only more hate. Okay, so this is a good example of when to stand up for what's right. Hold people accountable for their actions and take responsibility for it. So some people struggle with this, like I said before. Trying to pass over the MAGA hat guy. We already talked about him. But here's what we need to do. Standing up for right is we need to stop evil from progressing. And we're just as responsible for them doing it to someone else if we stand by. Okay, so this is a hard thing for people. There's a lot to learn here. There's three things from the examples that we've already given. First is get the facts straight before attacking someone to pick, Next is what we allow will continue. And the third one is stand up for what's right, because if we don't, we actually become part of the problem. We perpetuate it. So it's not a surprise that anyone usually gets angry for an injustice or a perceived injustice. And that's where we come in, is we have to decide, is this perceived or this real? Okay, how do we tell the difference? In 1 John 4:1-2, it talks about talking to believers again. Remember, the word is for believers. It talks about discerning, how to discern this. It says, don't believe every spirit, but test them to see if they're from God, because there are a lot of false prophets out there. Okay, so it talks about, so what are prophets? Well, people that are trying to speak, people that are speaking either by the Spirit of God or another spirit. So you need to know the difference. So if you speak from the Spirit of God, you're supposed to address evil and expose them. That's what it says here. In Ephesians 5:11-12, it had nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. So this is a little different than, what people talk about as believers a lot of time is always the nice. And I'm not saying we're being nasty, but we have to be honest. And there's nothing wrong with having a conviction and a passion about something if it comes from the right place. Let's see. The fruitless deeds of darkness, we're supposed to expose them. And when we expose them, they become powerless. Okay? A lot of times people won't do this because of how they feel. They're afraid to speak up. And then there are people who are speaking up too much because of their feelings. Okay? This is problem number one that we're seeing, is there's too much feelings going on. We're not to be led in our life by our feelings. Okay? Our feelings are not automatically equating to truth. If we reduce to this, then we're definitely part of the problem. So how we speak will determine if we affect the change or we perpetuate the problem. Okay. I've seen this with some of the clients that I've worked with, where they've become fearful of standing up for what's right, say in a work situation, in a relationship situation, say if they're part of an organization and there's somebody again overstepping their authority. And what we're seeing here is a lot of fear of man more than fear of God, and it's weakened our ability to stand. And so if you've ever seen someone get bullied, you understand how easy to just submit to someone who's bigger, because that's how you survive. But we're not talking about surviving. When we think about patriots and we think about those who have defended this country for what it is, and how we are here today because of those who stood up for what was right, even if it meant their life. And this is what Jesus did, so he was the first example of this. I have to say that you do what's right because it's right, not because of how you feel. Kind of back to that example of that young man I was telling you, who says, if I'm in the front yard with my son and somebody comes to hurt me, you just do what's right. How many times we've seen stories like that, where somebody is called a hero because they protected someone or they did something like that? It wasn't something they planned. It wasn't something they were trying to do. It was something that they had to do because of who they were. So part of really standing up for what's right is defining your values of who you are and separating it from the crowd mentality of, if you're in a group that, you tend to follow this crowd because of what they believe and what they're all saying, and because they're louder, or they say the oil, the squeaky wheel, you need to reevaluate if it really aligns to your values. Okay? I've had to shake some people out of timidity, as far as clients. And when you love someone that is being attacked, kind of like that teenager we talked about, how much do you have to hate them not to stand up for them? I mean, clearly you do the right thing. So, I feel like, this is not about revenge. And this is where people, you take, when I say we fight evil with good, There are people who get angry and frustrated, and then they get it to a point of revenge and gloating in the fact that they're going to make somebody have pain because they created pain. And this is where we're trying to fight fire with fire. There's no winning. Okay, so you can't win fighting evil with evil. Okay, it's fighting evil with good, fighting evil with righteousness. So it can't be about revenge either. So the way to overcome it is with good. And we have to stand up because we all suffer when we don't. I hear people quoting this scripture all the time. Matthew 5:44, it says, "But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." Well, here's what I've learned. Love isn't always sweet and cuddly. Love is based on truth, knowing it, upholding it, and standing up for it. Okay, we can't make it so personal that we lose that. We can't lose our values to stand up for something. We have to stand up for them because of our values. Okay? We already said that what we allow will continue. But the question today, again, is when have you stood up for what was right? How did you do it? Why did you do it? Are you glad you did? And did it affect change? And so I'm trying to look here what else I got for notes. I want to go back to this, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. There are so many people, even believers, and this isn't a personal attack on believers or the church or anything like that. I love them, and I am one of them. But I would say this: love doesn't always look like sweet and cuddly. Like I said, it's Jesus. He was God in the flesh, and God is love, so that's his very nature. But he was a lamb, but he was also a lion. What does that mean? Well, sometimes, sometimes you're the protector. To me, when you're standing up for what's right, that's what we're talking about. It's to protect someone else from suffering from the same thing that you suffered. Now, I believe there are people who are completely dead wrong who believe they're doing this. I believe that. Because here's what I've learned, is when you stand up for what's right, everyone wins. And it's not just you lose and I win. And that's a hard thing for people to understand. Whenever righteousness prevails, everybody wins. The only one that loses is evil and the enemy, not the people. When I say evil, I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about a spirit that people maybe fall under and operate by that they are unaware of because they're emotional. We talked about feelings before. Our feelings are not to lead our decisions. Our feelings are to submit to the Spirit of God, the truth of God, and respond from that place. And this is how we stand up for righteousness. Think about it this way. If we look at it as a family, okay? I come from a big family, a seventh of 9, okay? And so I understand when my father would say, I don't want anybody going over into this room and touching my things over here. As soon as he said it, I would register it and go, okay. And I'd walk away. And yet some of my older siblings, my brothers specifically, they would think, yeah, I'm going in. Okay, so really, what place are you coming from? Having a heart that wants to do the right thing, or one that's just like, what can I get away with? and that's not good. That's not the right way. All right. So these days, everyone wants you to mind your own business. And I think, there's a certain aspect of, yes, you want to live a peaceful life. The Word talks about that. Live peaceably with everyone. Study, mind your own business. And we want to mind our own business. But when somebody else or something else is made to be our business without our invitation, and it is affecting not only our life and experience, but it's affecting the life and experience of others, we need to stand up. Okay? Going back to this love thing, the problem with people looking at love just being, you sit down like a carpet or a mat and people get to walk all over you, and you just have to take it is a wrong idea. That is just wrong. You stand up for righteousness. Even God disciplines those he loves. And it's not to hurt us, but it's to heal us. Sometimes correction, and God's correction is not meant to be painfully shameful or condemning. It's meant as an encouragement to make us better. Okay, and I believe that when we stand up for right, that should be the goal, not let's get that guy, make him suffer. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay, so these days, everyone wants to mind your own business, like we said, but so we don't get involved, or we only get involved at a safe distance. Like I said, posting things and sharing things on Facebook is not really getting involved. To a certain extent, it may be information. Information isn't transformation. What we need is to build relationships with people who think differently than us. At the beginning of the show, I was talking to you about somebody who was pro-life, and then I built a relationship with them, had a conversation with them, and was able to tell them why I wasn't, why I was pro-life. They were pro-choice, and I was pro-life. And they thanked me because I was the only one who took the time to explain it to them, rather than saying those people are just stupid and being volatile. That doesn't answer the question for someone. Truly answer people's questions with truth, be logical about it, and do it from a place of sincerely wanting to protect their soul from the evil that we're talking about. Because there's a scripture, and I believe it's in Matthew, and I forget which verse it is, but it basically says, for you who, whenever you see someone that is sinning, that word sin means missing the mark of God's best for us, right? So whenever you see someone sinning, you who is spiritual, go in and restore them. But then it gives a warning, but be careful that you don't fall into the same thing that the self-righteousness about it. Okay, that's really important aspect of this. Let's see. So do we stand by and watch what we value be trampled on by those who have no regard for it, or who have no regard for you or anyone who thinks like you? I don't think so. Anyways, I am out of time. Continue to comment on this. Make your comments on this if you're on the live stream, even if you watch this after. Please, this is not a place to name call and bash people. That's not what I'm looking for. If you listen to this in the entire, you get the gist of what we're talking about. Answer this. When have you stood up for what was right? How did you do it? And did it affect change? That's what we need to not only share those victories, we need to help others learn how to do that. Okay, so going to take a short break here, a very brief break, and I will be right back to tell you what's coming up tomorrow, so stay tuned.
CrossNet Inc. offers computer and IT services for commercial clients as well as local personal users. We create tailor-made plans for your business's unique needs, from computer repairs to managing networks, servers, and desktops. CrossNet Inc. offers managed services, data backups, virus protection, web filtering, and more. For more information, go to crossnetinc.com or call for your personalized IT services today at 603-589-2520. CrossNet Inc. IT services that keep your business running when you're on the run.
Mark Major knows that great coaches need constant training to be effective. As a certified coach, teacher, and speaker with the John Maxwell team, Mark can help you identify and activate your personal and professional goals. If you seek to do more and be more, look up Mark on the web at johnmaxwellgroup.com/MARC-major or call 603-674-6818. Mark Major, growing leaders and adding value.
Well, that concludes today's Good Life. If you want to join us tomorrow, Jen Leva will be here from Recovery Now, so you can learn how to help your loved ones dealing with addiction. Thanks for turning in today. Make the best of your day and be blessed. And remember, we are in it together.